Well, this year's posting has been interesting so far. I'm going to talk about Dolby Atmos and streaming services. I've been in this business a long time, and I noticed that as the audio has advanced, some of the services have advanced with it, and some of them have done very little help to make streaming as good as buying the disc. If you buy a Blu-ray or a 4K Blu-ray right now, any of them, let's just say that for an example, and you'll notice that the 4K and the Ultra HD and the HDR, the newer movies actually have HDR. The older movies, I watched one the other day, it had HDR effects added in, and it's really not that big a deal. It's not that good of a job. So looking for HDR in an older movie, don't expect a lot. Looking for it on a new movie, wow, they pop. They really do. Jumanji will pop. Any of the other movies that are out right now will pop. But as far as audio goes, you'll look on a lot of these and they say DTS XH. They'll say Atmos. And if you see it on a streaming service, it says it supports Atmos, but you will find out it does not support Atmos. You will play it on your sound bar or your stereo, and I've got an Atmos system downstairs. You guys have seen it in my previous videos. And I have a Atmos system upstairs, a Nakamichi Shockwave, one of the nice ones, and it supports Atmos, every part of it, the connectors, the cables, the works. And my proof is I have Voodoo. If any of you don't use Voodoo, you should. If you're going to buy a movie, go to Voodoo and buy a movie. And you're going to say, why is that a big deal? Well, if you buy it from Voodoo, you have the option to get disc and digital for not much more. That means you actually get the physical disc plus the movie, like this. You buy the movie on there, and they send it to you in the mail. You may not think that's a big deal, but that's huge, because you get the movie. It comes to you, the discs and all, and it's registered on that site as already, so you can watch the digital version 2 weeks or more before the movie actually comes out everywhere else. And then when the movie does come out, they send it to you in the mail. No, it doesn't come immediately. It takes slow boat to China, but it does show up. You just need to be aware that that's a big deal. In the old days, you'd have a channel, you'd have advertisers. I'd tell you, go buy Jolt Cola. I was a hacker in the old days, so we existed on. Anyway, we existed on little pizza rolls, Tostitos, or whatever was available back in those days, plus Jolt Cola, which, by the way, would wake up the dead. And that really isn't an option anymore in most avenues. I don't even think they sell it anymore. But anyway, I digress. If you want to have Dolby Atmos, you're going to go to Voodoo. Not only will you be able to get the physical disc, but it actually supports the playback on your TV of Dolby Atmos with pass-through. That means if you got a stereo that's Dolby Atmos, it'll work. You get all the sound and everything. If you get a sound bar that's Dolby Atmos, you get all the sound. I see a bunch of reviews on YouTube where they're saying, I have Dolby Atmos and I'm playing it and I'm using Netflix. Well, no, you're not. Because even if you have the correct connectors, the app does not support it. Neither does it support it in any of the other services, Disney included. They don't support it. And everybody says, well, they support it on Apple. Well, then what's their problem? Really, what's their problem? I'm not going to get Apple. I've got Disney. I use Hulu, which is also Disney. And neither one of those support Atmos. And I can go over to Voodoo, buy a movie, and get a Dolby Atmos movie. Plus, I can watch it digitally anytime I want to. Plus, they have free movies, too. And they don't charge you for the free movies. In fact, I've never paid a dime for a service on Voodoo. So, what's the deal? Why would I ever go to Apple and buy anything for streaming when I can get it free, plus the correct sound and everything else on Voodoo? Prime doesn't have it either, by the way. So they may say that these have it, or I don't care. They don't. Their apps do not have it. I've got the streaming sticks that are supposed to have Atmos on a Samsung TV in the other room, and I have the high-end Roku box. And it doesn't matter what hardware you have from where you got it, you're not going to get Dolby Atmos. And they advertise it. They do. They advertise that you can have it, but they've got some deal up there to prevent you from getting it unless you use their stuff. So if you want to get Dolby Atmos and really get a good experience streaming, go to Vudu and try it. Try a couple movies. Trust me, you don't have to do it yourself, but watch a couple movies. Buy them as a digital and disc. There's no reason not to, and you'll get the disc in the mail. If you don't believe it's going to show up, it will. It will show up, and you'll end up with a really nice Dolby Atmos presentation streaming. They won't throttle you back. It works great on most TVs. Do remember, you just have to have the correct connectors, high-speed HDMI, and you have to have a system whereby if the TV doesn't have it, you bypass the TV. If the TV doesn't have HDMI pass-through for 4K HDR and Atmos, then you definitely need to have it on external hardware. On the TV upstairs, which is a Sony, and I won't buy any more Sony TVs, they promised that they were going to upgrade it to Dolby Vision, and they made a lot of promise. They didn't upgrade it to any of that stuff. So that was all dealers and lies by the company, and they lied straight to me on the telephone. So but I bypassed that using a Roku and not using their internal software, hooking the Roku straight to the Shockwave system, and I have Dolby Atmos off a soundbar upstairs that's very good. Is it better than downstairs? Not even close. If you want to get a very good soundbar, Nakamichi still is the way to go. I used them all the way back into the 80s with their hardware, a Dragon cassette that I had deck, and for those of you who don't know what that is, that's a cassette deck that did some fancy stuff, but it was fun to watch. But a very good cassette deck. And then years later, this is the first time I've had another Nakamichi, and they're very, very nice. Not going to complain about Nakamichi at all. But when you go downstairs to the other one, it's just kind of a thrown together system with an Onkyo 7.1 stereo that does Atmos and also does DTS-X, which by the way is the other standard you're going to have to worry about if you want good sound. And the elevation is tested in your living room with the speaker they have. It's all automatic, and then it tunes it for the room you're in, so you really can't mess up with an Onkyo stereo. If you set up a system that way, it's going to cost you more, but you don't have to buy it all at once. But again, when you're ready to go stream, you're going to find out you can't stream Dolby Atmos or DTS-X. You're going to find that it doesn't come up. You know, when I'm down up here on my system, the Nakamichi will tell you when it's getting DTS-X or Atmos. It'll come up on the bar. Sorry about that. Ice cream. It'll come up on the bar and tell you Dolby Atmos or DTS-X. And if you go, and a lot of stereo systems, they don't have the feedback that you're going to have normally, especially going downstairs. But it is Atmos. You can tell when you play it. It's much, even makes this one even better. Make sure that you mount your stereo speakers on the ceiling or on the upper part of the wall, and make sure that the actual speaker itself is facing toward the area where you're most likely going to watch movies at to get the best experience. And also on a side note, if you're going to hook up a stereo, you're going to find the trouble with the cables for the rear speakers. You can buy a very nice Bluetooth rear speaker connector that hooks to your stereo, and it does not have any lag, and it works great with the Dolby Atmos system, which is what I've got downstairs. And that prevents you having to run cables to the back wall for your rear speakers. Now you can go out and spend $20,000 on a stereo, and I used to install them. I worked for a place here in town called BIOS, and we used to home install $100,000 TVs, home theaters, and I did the cable running and all that. I know how they're supposed to be set up, and I used to set them up all the time, enough to where they even put the plaque on the door saying THX. or nowadays THX, everybody has that pretty much. But when you set up a system like that, after a while you get to understand what you need to do to make it work. And if you're missing any component, in the case now, it's the software. So this is just a little blog. I probably went over too many things on it. I'm sure I'll get flamed like I always do, but I know this business. I know how to make it work, and you can do it a lot cheaper than you can buying a system from somebody. You can just rip it up. How much cheaper you can get something at. I recommend very strongly that you look into getting if you want a good soundbar, the Nakamichi systems are probably the best. And then you're going to have to separate your TV from it, because most likely your TV software does not support anything. And you'll have to check it yourself. You'll see it. It will come up. I mean, you can tell me in the comments if you do see that. You get yourself one of the new Roku boxes, the high-end ones. And yeah, they'll cost you some money. Mine cost me quite a bit of money to get. And I bypassed the software on my Sony TV, and a 900F, by the way. And it works great. 900F, by the way, excuse the mess, been messing around with movies. That's an F. And that's the Nakamichi Shockwave. Yes, I'm a movie nut. I'm a gamer. Both me and my wife game. So, don't have the money to buy one of these streaming cameras because, well, to tell you the truth, I haven't seen anything that made me think they're any good quality over my cell phone. I got HDR filming capability on this cell phone, so why do I need to buy a camera that doesn't even have it? And I don't need to film always in the resolution they want. Anyway, that's my blurb for today. Be safe, wear your mask when you're outside. Don't listen to people who say you don't need a mask. Wearing a mask is a lot better than having the tombstone, I'm sure, later on. If you haven't been watching people, it's been killing people that are totally healthy. And if we keep letting it go by us getting exposed and continuing, it'll mutate. And if it mutates, it'll kill a lot more people. So you guys be safe and you have a nice day. Bye-bye.